The world of archaeology continues to reveal treasures, mysterious relics, and extraordinary stories from across the globe. Each new discovery opens up fresh mysteries about power, belief, and the fate of humanity, allowing us to gain deeper insight into the past and into tales of mankind that have never before been told. Let us explore them together in today's video. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. Ancient sites, archaeological discoveries, and historic artifacts. Buried deep within the layers of history, every archaeological discovery opens a door to the past, a place where the stories, values, and mysteries of ancient peoples still leave their mark to this day. In England, archaeologists have finally pinpointed the exact location of an Anglo-Saxon abbey that had been forgotten for centuries. This abbey was once directly overseen by the Queen of Mercia. Excavating the site has not only provided valuable clues about the spiritual lives and daily routines of its monks and nuns, but also revealed the special role of women in early society, where they held both power and spiritual leadership within their community. From ancient graves in Russia, scientists have uncovered an extraordinary burial site where a high-status individual was interred nearly 5,500 years ago. The grave is distinguished by an abundance of amber jewelry, over 140 pieces in total, including buttons, pendants, and intricately crafted ornament. This is vivid evidence of the flourishing ancient amber trade in the Baltic region, while also reflecting the status, power, and beliefs of the deceased within their community. In Jerusalem, archaeologists made a surprising find during excavations along the pilgrimage road leading up to the sacred temple, a mysterious ring more than 2,000 years old. Although worn by time, the ring still retains a sparkling green stone at its center. It was more than just a personal adornment, it carries deep historical and religious symbolism. It is possible that its owner lost it during a purification ritual, just before the pivotal moments of Jerusalem's transformation at the end of the Roman era. In China, a poignant discovery was made at an ancient cemetery in Shandong province, where archaeologists found two sets of remains lying together in a tight embrace. The woman's head resting on the man's shoulder. Believed to date from the Northern Wei period, this finding has shed light on ancient views of love, death, and the longing to remain together for eternity. These everlasting embraces have become a symbol not only of the bond between two people, but also the connection between past and present. Finally, the journey of historical exploration is aided by modern technology, as experts have successfully restored the precious 1491 map that helped Christopher Columbus plan his transatlantic voyage to the New World. This map is not only a rare surviving artifact from the early age of exploration, but also a witness to the pivotal moments that shaped human history. Under the illumination of the latest multispectral scanning equipment, the map has revealed even more details about how Europeans envisioned the world before setting foot on distant, unknown shore. These sites, artifacts, and archaeological discoveries from diverse cultures and civilizations each help to illuminate the wonders still hidden within the flow of human history, nurturing a passion for discovery and opening the door to stories yet untold. Zombie worms, the strange bone-eating worms of the Monterey Deep. Deep beneath the surface of Monterey Bay in California, scientists have discovered a bizarre creature that has astonished the natural world. This is a special kind of marine worm known as the zombie worm. Tiny organisms that play a crucial role in the cycle of life at the ocean floor. The story began when experts were surveying the deep sea floor, a place shrouded in faint light where the enormous carcasses of whales had settled months earlier. On those bleached white bones, they unexpectedly found countless tiny creatures clinging tightly, covering every crevice. Closer examination under the microscope revealed that they were facing a strange form of life, a marine worm with no mouth or stomach, yet capable of consuming the bones of giant animals. The key to the survival of these worms lies in their unique mechanism. Instead of chewing or swallowing like typical creatures, they develop extremely fine root-like structures that burrow deep into whalebone. Through these roots, the zombie worms release specialized bacteria that break down collagen and the remaining organic matter inside the bone. The nutrients, once broken down by the bacteria, are then absorbed directly by the worm. This is a survival strategy entirely different from any animal previously known to science. But their life cycle is even more mysterious. Inside each female, hundreds of tiny males live parasitically, hidden within the body of their giant mother, almost never leaving her. These minute males exist for only one purpose: to fertilize the eggs of the female whenever needed, ensuring the species' survival in the harsh environment of the deep sea. The story of zombie worms in Monterey Bay opens an entirely new perspective on the diversity of life at the very edge of the ocean, where tiny creatures hold the secret to extraordinary survival, contributing to the delicate ecological balance of the blue ocean as a whole. Whenever a whale carcass sinks to the depths, it marks not just the end of one journey, but the beginning of a whole new ecosystem, where strange beings like zombie worms continue to write nature's mysterious stories. The Cadaver Synod. In the tumultuous history of the Catholic Church, there are events so startling that even hearing about them today can leave us in disbelief. One such incident is the Cadaver Synod of 897 in Rome, when the corpse of Pope Formosus was exhumed and made to stand trial in a public courtroom before a crowd of clergy and high-ranking officials. This bizarre trial was not the result of superstition, but rather a stark reflection of the brutal political and power struggles that followed the collapse of Charlemagne's empire. As authority in Europe, fractured and powerful noble families all sought to manipulate the church to secure their own influence. The papacy itself became the ultimate prize in a fierce battle between rival factions. In this chaotic landscape, Formosus, a man once known for spreading Christianity as far as Bulgaria, was inevitably drawn into the vortex of power, earning both powerful allies and dangerous enemies. After Formosus's death, his successor, Pope Stephen VI, under pressure from opposing forces, decided to stage a trial unlike anything history had ever seen. Formosus's body was exhumed, dressed once more in papal vestments, and placed upon the throne at the center of the courtroom. Represented only by a trembling deacon, the corpse was made to answer a series of heavy accusations, including seizing the papal throne and holding multiple offices at once, acts his rivals claimed were illegal and driven by ambition. The proceedings were not just grim in their symbolism, but became even more macabre when, in the midst of the trial, a sudden earthquake struck, ratcheting up the tension in the already charged hall. In a fit of rage, Stephen VI ordered that Formosus's papal robes be stripped from his corpse, that the fingers once used to give blessings be cut off, and finally that the body be thrown into the Tiber River. This brutal act not only failed to quell the controversy, but instead ignited a wave of public fury across Rome. The people saw this as an unforgivable affront to the late pope. It was not long before outrage boiled over into open revolt, ending with Stephen VI being arrested and meeting his end in a prison cell. In the aftermath, Formosus's body was recovered from the Tiber and reburied in St. Peter's Basilica, his honor restored, and the previous judgments overturned. The story of the Cadaver Synod remains a powerful testament to a period when life, death, and the pursuit of power were swept up in schemes beyond imagining. A chapter that still offers sobering lessons about honor, loyalty, and the consequences of extreme decision. Blood money. Hidden behind the sturdy stone walls of the Vatican, the Church's bank has long been the subject of countless rumors about power and wealth. During the chaotic years of World War II, this was not only a sacred sanctuary, but also a crossroads for shadowy flows of money, where interests and ethics were often weighed against each other. Newly revealed documents show that the Vatican Bank was deeply entangled in secret financial activities with Nazi Germany, exploiting its unique position to ensure that transactions stayed beyond the reach of Italian law and Allied scrutiny. Perhaps the most painful and troubling of all these secrets were the life insurance policies belonging to Jewish victims sent to concentration camps. While the war raged on, the bank continued quietly collecting insurance payments. But when the nightmare ended and the victims' families came to claim their benefits, they were met with a cold response. Without death certificates, no payouts would be made. This decision brought fierce condemnation upon the Vatican Bank, as money meant to protect and comfort grieving families was withheld in the most inhumane way. It remains a stain on the Church's history that is not easily erased. Yet the story did not end with the war. As the world moved into an era of peace, the Vatican Bank continued to serve as a safe haven for illicit funds, from wealthy tycoons seeking to dodge taxes to politicians and businessmen eager to conceal their assets. As long as a priest was willing to cooperate, any sum of money could quietly slip past legal boundaries and rest untouched within the Vatican's domain, where no outside authority could reach it. It was not until Pope Francis assumed leadership that a genuine wind of transparency and reform began to sweep through the bank's cold corridor. Many shadowy accounts were closed, suspicious transactions were more tightly controlled, and the Vatican began moving toward a cleaner, more ethical image in the eyes of the international community. Even so, questions about the past remain, and the history of the Vatican Bank serves as a stark reminder that when religious power is combined with financial power, there are always hidden corners of darkness that humanity is still striving to uncover. The Palace of Ardashir. The Palace of Ardashir, a forgotten symbol of royal power lost amid the deserts of Iran, stands as one of the most enigmatic mysteries of ancient Eastern civilization. Perched on the slope of a desolate mountain, just a few dozen miles from the ancient city of Chaz, this monument was built in the 2nd century AD. During the reign of Ardashir I, the illustrious monarch who founded the Sassanid Empire. Although time has swept away most of the once glorious structures of this empire, the Palace of Ardashir still quietly recounts the story of a golden age and an unbounded thirst for power. What makes this palace truly unique lies in both its design and its meaning. Unlike any fortress or palace ever constructed by the Parthians or Sassanids, this place was built with a level of opulence and individuality rarely seen. Its location was chosen right beside a small, clear lake, whose waters are fed by an inexhaustible natural spring. For those living in the arid desert, the presence of a lake was a symbol of life and prosperity. But above all, it was the palace's spiritual dimension that stood out as its most important feature. The Palace of Ardashir was not merely a royal residence, but also served as the religious center for the entire region. A place where sacred fire rituals, an essential part of the Zoroastrian faith, were performed. For followers of Zoroastrianism, fire is not only a physical source of light, but also a sacred symbol of goodness, representing a power that transcends all darkness. In the vast halls of the palace, the sacred fire was kept burning continuously, an enduring affirmation of the victory of light over darkness, of good over evil. Archaeologists believe that this palace was never intended for defense or war, as so many other structures of its era were. Instead, it was designed to display the wealth, authority, and enduring aspirations of the Sassanid Empire. Its expansive spaces and intricately adorned walls seem to recreate a paradise on earth, a place where royal power blended seamlessly with the spiritual world. Over thousands of years, the storms of history and the passage of time have reduced the Palace of Ardashir to a ruin in a desolate landscape. Yet, the value of this monument remains undiminished. In 2018, UNESCO officially recognized the Palace of Ardashir as a World Cultural Heritage Site, opening the door to preservation and further study of one of the last magnificent symbols of ancient Persian civilization. In the twilight, among the cracked stone walls and the silent earth, the Palace of Ardashir quietly keeps its secrets of the past, a vivid testament to the enduring connection between human power and the eternal belief in the sacred. The Whitehaired Mummy of Pompei. Amid the ruins of Pompei, a city that was buried beneath volcanic ash nearly 2,000 years ago, archaeologists have recently uncovered a rare discovery: the nearly intact remains of a remarkable man. This is not just another skeleton like the thousands of others excavated here. This individual has retained a shock of white hair, part of his ear, and small fragments of clothing still clinging to his body after centuries entombed beneath the searing ash. Inscriptions on the tombstone beside his grave reveal that he was once a slave. After gaining his freedom, he rose to become a priest and held a high position within the community of Pompei. This is especially notable, as it was extremely rare in Roman times for someone of such humble origins to achieve such status. He not only helped organize religious festivals but also introduced the Greek language to the city, enriching its cultural life in ways historians had never previously documented. Experts believe that the extraordinary preservation of these remains is thanks to the tomb being completely sealed, protecting even the smallest details from the passage of time and the destructive forces of nature. Such cases are exceedingly rare, as Roman custom dictated that most adults were cremated, with only children typically buried intact. This discovery not only offers new insights into burial practices, but also opens up new hope for unraveling more mysteries of Pompeii's social life, a place shaped by the meeting of many different cultures. Today, archaeologists continue to study the remains, hoping to determine whether this individual was mummified in any special way. At the same time, they are considering opening this newly discovered burial site to the public so that visitors can gain a deeper sense of the human stories and history hidden beneath the layers of ash in the immortal city of Pompei. The terrifying angels of the Bible. If you have ever thought of angels as gentle, pure beings with white wings and kind faces, like those seen in Renaissance paintings, you may have to completely change your perception when you look back at the descriptions found in the Bible. In reality, the original images of angels in ancient scriptures evoke a sense of dread, unfamiliarity, awe, and sometimes inspire fear more than comfort. Most prominent among these are the cherubim, one of the highest orders of angel. Instead of the cherubic, plump children with delicate wings seen in later works of art, the cherubim in the Bible are described as having 4 faces: a human, a lion, an ox, and an eagle, each representing different powers, wisdom, and omnipotence. Moreover, each cherubim possesses multiple large wings and feet like the shining hooves of a calf, gleaming like polished bronze. Accompanying them are massive, spinning wheels covered with countless eyes, constantly turning and moving, an image so surreal that it astonishes anyone who envisions it. No less striking are the seraphim, the fiery angels. These beings are often described as having 6 great wings. 4 wings cover their faces and bodies, while the remaining 2 are used for flight. The name seraphim itself means the burning ones, and fittingly, they always appear radiant in a blaze of light, sometimes like a brilliant sacred fire that ordinary people cannot bear to look upon directly. In addition, the Bible features other strange angels, such as the Ophanim, which appear as enormous, glowing rings covered with a multitude of eyes, forever in motion, like a divine surveillance system spanning the vastness of the universe. It is little wonder that characters in the Bible often trembled or were overcome with fear whenever they encountered these angels, for these messengers from heaven bore a supernatural appearance, powerful and mysterious, utterly unlike the gentle, familiar images often portrayed in modern art. Perhaps that is why the first words of an angel are so often, "Do not be afraid," as a reassurance to those suddenly confronted with the overwhelming presence and authority of the divine. The ghost fleet of Zheng He. In the early 15th century, while the nations of Europe were still struggling with their first tentative sea voyages, China in the east already possessed one of the largest fleets in history, under the command of Admiral Zheng He. This fleet, with nearly 300 vessels of all kinds, once set sail across the Indian Ocean, reaching as far as the eastern coast of Africa, carrying luxurious gifts to exchange with distant kingdoms. Every voyage of Zheng He was driven not only by the desire for trade, but also as a symbol of the Ming dynasty's power and prosperity. The fleet boasted enormous treasure ships, which, according to many records, stretched over 120 meters in length, a size far greater than any other ship of that era. It is said that on one expedition to the island of Sri Lanka, one of the largest treasure ships met with disaster and sank deep beneath the sea. Centuries have passed, yet the legend of this ship lives on, fueling the curiosity not only of archaeologists but also of treasure hunters around the world. Despite numerous underwater surveys conducted along the Sri Lankan coast, the true whereabouts of that treasure ship remain a complete mystery to this day. There are research teams who claim to have found suspicious traces, but they keep their findings secret, worried about the risk of looting or destruction of artifacts. This silence only adds to the aura of mystery surrounding Zheng He's ghost fleet, a mighty armada that once conquered the oceans and now seems to have merged with the shadows of history. Edgar Allan Poe and the chilling coincidence. In 1839, Edgar Allan Poe, one of the most famous writers in American literature, published the only novel of his life, titled The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. The story tells of a disastrous sea voyage where the sailors face storms, mutiny, and ultimately descend into the depths of utter desperation from starvation. In their hopelessness, the group is forced to choose one among them to sacrifice as food for the others, and the victim is Richard Parker, a name that, at first glance, seems entirely ordinary, yet would go on to become the starting point for one of history's most haunting coincidences. When it was first released, the novel was fiercely criticized, with many calling the story too violent and unrealistic, so much so that even Poe himself admitted it was somewhat silly. Yet, fate would have it that this very novel became a literary legend, thanks to a horrifying real-life event that occurred nearly 50 years later. In 1884, the yacht Mignonette set sail from England to Australia but was wrecked in the open ocean, having been poorly prepared for such a long journey. 4 survivors struggled on a lifeboat, surviving on nothing but a little turtle meat before succumbing to exhaustion and despair. At the brink of death, they made the grim decision to kill and eat the weakest among them to save the others. The chilling detail is that the victim in this real-life ordeal was also named Richard Parker, a perfect match to Poe's character, not only in name but in his tragic fate and the grisly act of cannibalism for survival. This event quickly shocked the world, as many shuddered to realize that what Poe had once imagined had come to pass in real life with a precision that was truly unsettling. People began to wonder whether this was merely a coincidence or if, deep within Poe's imagination, he had somehow foreseen a tragedy that would unfold decades later. Whatever the answer, the story of Richard Parker remains one of the most haunting mysteries in both literature and maritime history, a place where the line between fiction and reality can be almost impossibly thin. Part 11. Millennia Old Mystery amidst the frozen lands of Northern Europe. On the desolate, moss-covered plains of Denmark, as well as across Northern Europe, people have repeatedly been astonished by the discovery of ancient mummies lying deep within the cold mud of peat bog. What is remarkable is that even after thousands of years, these bodies remain astonishingly intact, from their hair, their skin, their clothing, to even the remnants of what they ate before they died. All of these have been preserved thanks to the extremely acidic and oxygen-poor environment of the peat bog. One of the most famous of these mummies is the Tolland Man. When he was discovered in 1950, every detail on his face was still clearly visible, from each strand of beard to every expression, creating the impression that he had only just drifted off into a long sleep. But behind that peaceful appearance are chilling secrets. Many bog mummies bear traces of violence, with deep cuts across their throats or signs of strangulation, their hands and feet tied, and their bodies sometimes stabbed or slashed. Notably, during that era, Northern Europeans did not bury their dead but primarily practiced cremation, which only adds to the mystery of why these bodies were buried in the bog. At first, archaeologists believed these were victims of sacrificial rituals, people who had been condemned or slaves sacrificed to ask for the protection of the gods during years of failed harvest. However, more recent research has offered a different perspective. Some mummies have been found wearing luxurious clothing, adorned with intricate jewelry, and even showing signs that they had traveled very far before returning home. These details suggest that they may have been important figures, people of high status within the community, and that being chosen as a sacrificial victim was a special honor, not the fate of ordinary people. Because there are no written records about the religious beliefs of the Iron Age in Northern Europe, these bog mummies remain a major unsolved mystery. They reflect both the harshness of ancient rituals and surprising human aspects of prehistoric society. Scientists continue to study to better understand the identities, origins, and roles of these people, hoping that one day the question of why their souls were entrusted to the cold peat bogs for thousands of years will finally be answered. The Curse of Temur. Timur, also known as Tamerlane, was once the terror of both Asia and Europe in the 14th century. Under the iron hand of this warlord, the Timurid Empire stretched from Central Asia all the way to Persia, India, and the Mesopotamian region. He left a bloody mark on history, with millions of people killed in his brutal campaigns. Yet at the same time, he was the founder of a brilliant civilization, with flourishing arts, architecture, and scholarship. When he died in 1405, Timur's body was laid to rest in the Guri Amir Mausoleum, which became a symbol of power and also the center of many unresolved mysteries. The legend of Timur's curse began to spread hundreds of years after his death. Local people have always believed that anyone who dared to disturb the tomb of this emperor would bring upon themselves great disaster, and for a long time, this curse seemed like nothing more than folklore. Until June 1941, when a Soviet archaeological team, under the direction of Stalin's government, decided to open Timur's tomb in hopes of studying history and examining the true remains of the conqueror. On the 20th of June of that year, the ancient coffin was opened, and an indescribable stench spread throughout the mausoleum, heightening the unease among those who witnessed it. No one could have imagined that just 2 days later, on the 22nd of June, 1941, Nazi Germany would suddenly launch Operation Barbarossa, a full-scale invasion of the Soviet Union, plunging the country into one of the most brutal wars in human history. This event eerily coincided with the ancient curse, fueling countless rumors and fears about Timur's mysterious power right in the midst of the modern scientific era. Although researchers believe this was nothing more than a random coincidence, the story of Timur's curse continues to live on in popular memory, reminding later generations of the sacred and mysterious things that humanity sometimes cannot explain. Each time people look at the imposing mausoleum of the conquering king in Samarkand, they cannot help but shudder when recalling that fateful moment where past and present met at the intersection of reality and legend, the ancient city in Syria. Amid the scorching sand of the Syrian desert, Palmyra emerges like a silent symphony of history and endurance. Once, it was the jewel of the desert, a meeting point of great civilizations, and a bustling commercial center that connected the Mediterranean with Persia, India, and China. Palmyra's wealth did not come only from its strategic location, but also from the strength and daring of its people, especially during the reign of the renowned Queen Zenobia. In the 3rd century, Zenobia transformed Palmyra into a powerful kingdom that challenged the might of the Roman Empire. She led her armies to conquer Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine, asserting her power on the ancient map. However, Zenobia's ambitions soon made Palmyra a target for Rome, leading to defeat, the occupation of the city, and the collapse of the kingdom. From that point, Palmyra continued to experience many upheavals, falling under the control of the Romans, the Byzantines, and later various Islamic dynasties, before finally fading into obscurity. Over thousands of years, Palmyra has been ravaged many times by war and conflict. Yet, its magnificent ruins still stand tall in the heart of the desert, serving as a reminder of a once glorious era. The Temple of Bel, with its towering stone columns, the triumphal arches, the squares, the ancient theater, and the royal tombs all cast their shadows on the sand. Every stone in Palmyra bears the imprint of legends, of resilience in the face of historical turmoil. Although modern warfare has brought further destruction to the city, many monuments such as the Temple of Bel have remained steadfast, becoming symbols of the vitality and pride of the Syrian people. Palmyra is not only an invaluable archaeological treasure, but also a witness to the endurance of human civilization, a city that carries within it countless mysteries, stories, and aspirations that continue to echo to this day. The haunted village of India. Amid the arid desert of Rajasthan, India, there exists a desolate village with streets covered in dusty sand, crumbling walls, and an atmosphere heavy with an eerie chill. This is Kuldara, known as one of the most famous ghost villages of the subcontinent. More than 200 years ago, Kuldara was a thriving community where the intelligent Paliwal families built a prosperous settlement in the heart of the wilderness, complete with wells, temples, and rows of adjoining houses. However, on one fateful night at the beginning of the 19th century, all more than 1,500 inhabitants of the village vanished without a trace, leaving behind empty homes and a chilling curse that has endured to this day. Locals passed down the story of a cruel ruling official whose greed and lust forced the Paliwal people to abandon their homeland. To protect their honor and escape oppression, the entire village left quietly under the cover of darkness, with no one knowing where they migrated. Before leaving, the village elders placed an ancient curse on Kuldara, declaring that anyone who tried to resettle there would not escape disaster. Since then, no one has dared remain in the village, not even for a single night. Every attempt to repopulate the area has met with misfortune, outbreaks of disease, the sudden death of livestock, or inexplicable accident. Today, Kuldara draws those who are fascinated by the mysterious and the macabre. During the day, visitors can stroll the silent streets and witness the remnants of a vanished culture with their own eye. But when darkness falls, stories of whispers in the wind, fleeting shadows, and a chilling sense of unease only add to the village's haunting atmosphere. Although science has never proven the curse's existence, Kuldara continues to instill fear in anyone who seeks to disturb its long-standing peace. The story of Kuldara serves as a reminder of the enduring power of folklore, as well as the mysteries that time has yet to erase. Perhaps the silence of this village is the voice of the past, reminding every step of the profound secrets that lie buried in the sands of this distant desert. Duvi Gorge. In the vast wilderness of Tanzania, amidst the dry valleys and sunburnt red earth, Duvi Gorge stands as a grand epic chronicling the origins and development of humankind. This place is not simply a deep canyon, it serves as the foundation for some of the greatest discoveries about our ancestors. Archaeologists have painstakingly unearthed each layer of ancient earth, and with every stroke of the pick, fossils and bone fragments of creatures that lived millions of years ago have come to light, from Homo habilis to Homo erectus and many other primitive forebear. But it does not stop there. The stone tools discovered at Duvi Gorge reveal clear evidence of intellectual evolution, marking humanity's very first breakthrough in crafting and using objects. Stones were sharpened into axes, knives, and hunting implements, signaling the dawn of a time when humans first learned to harness the natural world for survival. From Duvi, tens of thousands of ancient artifacts, such as animal bones, pollen grains, and traces of ancient campfires, have been excavated, enabling scientists to reconstruct a vivid picture of the environment, climate, and lives of our ancestors. Thanks to these findings, we can partly envision the arduous journey of human evolution, from wandering beings on the African savanna to a species capable of connection, creativity, and conquest. Yet, despite all these tremendous achievements, Duvi Gorge still keeps many deep secrets about the true cradle of humanity. Each year, new discoveries raise more questions than answers. Was this truly the birthplace of humankind, or just one of many stops along the evolutionary road? While scientific debate continues, Old Duvi Gorge stands proud, reminding the world that our quest to find our origins is still filled with challenges and fascinating mysteries ahead. Neanderthal Cannibalism. In the limestone mountains of northern Spain, the El Cedron cave has revealed a dark mystery about ancient humans. When archaeologists excavated this site, they discovered the remains of 13 Neanderthal individuals of all ages, from children to adult. But what was shocking was not just the number of skeletons, but the horrifying marks still visible on the bones. Clear evidence of chopping, cutting, and butchering, with bones broken open to extract the marrow. These traces indicate that this was not the result of wild animals or natural disasters, but rather a deliberate act, an act of cannibalism. Further study of the remains revealed that this group was closely related by blood. DNA in the bones showed a high degree of inbreeding, reflecting that the Neanderthal community had become isolated and reduced in number. In addition, archaeological analysis noted that the butchering marks matched the techniques used to process animals, from stripping the flesh to smashing the bones for marrow, a precious source of nutrition in times of food scarcity. All of this leads to a cold conclusion. At that time, the Neanderthal group at El Cedron may have been driven to desperation, forced to eat one another in order to survive a period of famine. The shrinking of the community, the relentless pressure to survive, and prolonged inbreeding not only made them increasingly vulnerable, but also pushed the Neanderthals to the brink of extinction. This discovery not only sheds light on the darker side of human evolution, but also raises questions about moral limits, survival instincts, and the fate of a human branch that once developed alongside our own. Dead Man's Island. Lying quietly off the banks of the River Medway, Dead Man's Island sends chills down the spine from its name alone. In the past, this small island once served as the final resting place for hundreds of unfortunate prisoners who died aboard prison ships, overcrowded floating jails anchored in the middle of the river, where disease, hunger, and despair were constant threats. The island was chosen as the burial ground for these prisoners in order to prevent epidemics from spreading to the mainland, separating them from society even after death. Over the centuries, the relentless winds, waves, and tides have continually eroded the sandy shores of Dead Man's Island. Whenever the tide rises or fierce winds sweep in, the ground collapses, exposing human skeletons, skulls, and decaying fragments of coffins mingled with the mud. The sight of body parts emerging from the earth amid the deserted landscape has made this island one of the most haunting places in England, a place whose stories alone are enough to unnerve anyone who hears them. Today, Dead Man's Island is strictly protected, closed to visitors to preserve its historical relics and the rare bird species that inhabit it. Yet, it is the very sense of desolation and the tales of restless souls that have made this island of the dead the subject of many ghost stories, a haunting reminder of the tragic shadows behind Britain's history of imprisonment. Unbelievable medical implant in an Egyptian mummy. Among the treasures of Egyptian archaeology, there have been many discoveries that stun the scientific world. Yet few would have guessed that an apparently ordinary mummy could conceal a medical secret far beyond the understanding of its time. In 1971, an ancient coffin was transported from Egypt to the United States and placed in the Rosicrucian Museum in California. At that time, no one knew for certain who the owner of this coffin was, only that he was likely a man of some standing in ancient Egyptian society, possibly an official, though not of royal lineage. For 20 years, the mummy lay quietly in the museum, drawing little attention. It was not until 1995, when scientists at Brigham Young University decided to X-ray the mummy, that they could hardly believe their eyes. Inside the left knee of the mummy, experts discovered a metal pin 9 inches long, firmly attached to the bone with a special adhesive. What was most astonishing was not just the presence of this object, but the way it was installed, with a level of precision and sophistication comparable to modern orthopedic surgery. Further research showed that this metal pin was not the result of modern restoration, but had actually been there for 2,600 years. On its surface, traces of an organic resin were found, serving a function similar to the medical cement that contemporary doctors use in bone surgery. This combination of materials and technique is a marvel for the ancient world, forcing many experts to admit that the medical knowledge of the ancient Egyptians far surpassed what history had previously recorded. The mystery only deepened as investigations into the mummy's identity progressed. According to the analyses, the man was not the original owner of the coffin, but may have been a stranger who was later interred in its place. Even his appearance surprised researchers. He was less than 5 feet tall and had striking red hair, completely different from the traditional image of ancient Egyptian. All these details have highlighted one of the most sophisticated examples of ancient bone surgery ever discovered. It raises major questions about the technological and medical understanding of ancient Egyptian craftsmen and physicians. Was this the singular achievement of a gifted individual, or evidence of a developed medical system that the modern world is only beginning to uncover? The existence of this metal pin in the mummy not only challenges every preconception about the limits of the ancients, but also opens new chapters in the history of human medicine, a history that still holds many mysteries yet to be explained. The sun, temple, and the rituals honoring the Egyptian king. During the Golden Age of ancient Egypt, the power of the pharaohs was demonstrated not only through military strength or prosperity, but was also firmly anchored by deep religious belief. Before the birth of Neaera, a momentous event took place. It was decided that the old mud brick temple, which had served as the spiritual center for generations, would be demolished to make way for a new, more magnificent structure built in his honor. This act was not merely one of architecture, but a sacred ritual, symbolizing the transfer of power and affirming the king's role as the earthly embodiment of the divine. The sun temples, constructed to honor the god Ra, played a crucial role in legitimizing the authority of the pharaoh. In Egyptian belief, the king was always regarded as the son of Ra, the bridge between humankind and the realm of the god. The Temple of Neaera, with its imposing architecture, not only inherited the layout of the old temple, but also expanded in both scale and material, being built entirely of stone, a symbol of the dynasty's stability and permanence. According to historical records and the remains that have survived through the ages, only a few Sunday temples have been excavated by archaeologists. Nevertheless, many sources suggest that as many as 6 temples once stood, clustered around the area of Abu Ghurab, where Neaera's temple once towered above the desert. These monuments were not only the setting for sacred rituals that deified the king, but also served as emblems of the ultimate power of a glorious dynasty, a place where people believed they could reach the divine and receive the god's protection on their journey to shape history. The Justice Cup of Pythagoras. Among the most unique inventions of the ancient world, the Justice Cup of Pythagoras has always fascinated not only scientists, but also those who delight in the wonders of mathematics and physics. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary cup, but a closer look inside reveals a finely crafted work of art that contains the forward-thinking vision of the famed Greek mathematician. The secret of this cup lies in its complex inner structure. 4 small chambers connected by a concealed tube running down through the base. When water is poured in up to a reasonable level, the cup works as usual, and you can drink from it without any trouble. However, if greed tempts you to fill it past the marked limit, the siphon principle immediately comes into play. All the liquid in the cup drains out through the hidden tube at the bottom, leaving you with an empty vessel. The idea behind this design was not merely a practical joke from Pythagoras for his greedy guests, but a profound reminder about fairness and moderation in life. Whoever tries to take more than their share, in the end, is left with nothing. What's especially interesting is that the siphon principle employed in this cup is the very same mechanism that underpins the modern flush toilet. When the water in the tank reaches a certain level, the pressure and flow sweep all the liquid away, cleaning the tank just as the Justice Cup once punished those who did not know when to stop. More than 2,000 years later, that small cup remains a symbol of creativity, intellect, and the sense of humor of the ancient world. It reminds us that even in the distant past, lessons about balance, discipline, and the applications of physics were cleverly woven into everyday life. And sometimes, justice can arise from the simplest of things, like an unassuming cup on an ancient banquet table. Ancient tombs and the Kerasak culture in Siberia. Across the vast steppes of Siberia, where the winters are long and cold and the wind whistles endlessly through the grassy hills, archaeologists have made a surprising discovery: ancient tombs perfectly preserved beneath layers of earth and stone for thousands of years. These tombs belong to the Kerasak culture, which flourished during the Bronze Age, when nomadic tribes roamed the wide grasslands, carrying with them their livestock, way of life, and beliefs as they moved from season to season. What makes these tombs especially remarkable is their incredible state of preservation after millennia. As researchers carefully uncovered each layer of earth, they found women buried in splendid garments, adorned with strings of beads, bronze necklaces, and earrings, along with precious objects carefully selected to accompany them to the next world. Exquisite ceramics, placed beside small knives carved with animal heads, reveal not only the artisan's skill but also a profound faith in a spiritual realm where the soul would continue its journey. Every grave good laid beside the deceased held its own meaning, perhaps as protection, perhaps as a useful tool for life after death, and together they formed a continuous passage between two worlds. Another striking detail found by archaeologists was the presence of graves in which pet dogs were buried alongside their owners. These dogs were not merely loyal companions in daily life, but became soulmates, accompanying their masters into eternity. The presence of pet graves beside the dead reveals much about the spiritual life, the deep bond between humans and animals, and the beliefs of the ancient Kerasak people. It is evidence that, even while living in a harsh, natural environment and constantly on the move, these people nurtured a rich inner life and upheld the values of family, community, and unwavering loyalty through time. These discoveries not only help us better visualize a culture that once thrived amid the harsh Siberian landscape, but also open up many fascinating questions about ancient beliefs, concepts of death, and humanity's relationship with the natural world. Each tomb is a story told through artifacts, a bridge from past to present, taking us back to an era when people longed to leave their mark on the world, no matter where they found themselves on the vast map of humankind. Three geniuses in the cycle of destiny. In the long history of science, there are few stories as strange or as thought-provoking as the fateful chain that connects three of humanity's greatest minds: Galileo Galilei, Albert Einstein, and Stephen Hawking. Three names that have changed the way we look at the universe, three scholars who lived centuries apart, yet are tied together by a series of uncanny milestones that defy explanation. It all began on the 8th of January, 1642, when Galileo Galilei, the father of modern science, drew his final breath. He left behind an immense legacy, from his discoveries about the movement of the planets to his famous disputes with the Church over the position of the Earth at the center of the universe. Exactly 300 years later, on the 8th of January, 1942, Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century, was born in England. Like Galileo before him, Hawking dared to cross the boundaries of what was known in his time, putting forward theories about black holes and the nature of the cosmos that would astonish the world. But the mysterious connection did not end there. On the 14th of March, 1879, Albert Einstein was born, the man who would lay the groundwork for the theory of relativity and become a symbol of modern intellect. More than a century later, again on the 14th of March, but in 2018, Stephen Hawking passed away, closing the strange cycle that had linked these three geniuses. Even more remarkably, both Einstein and Hawking lived exactly 76 years, a detail that only adds to the sense of mystery. These coincidences have led many people to ask, is it possible that the universe itself arranged a cycle of destiny in which each generation sees the rise of a great thinker, ready to continue and expand humanity's knowledge of all things? Or is it simply a random twist of fate, or perhaps some hidden joke of history? Whatever the answer may be, the link between Galileo, Einstein, and Hawking continues to inspire those who believe in some unseen force that guides and preserves the light of knowledge across the generation. These were not only three remarkable individuals, but also living proof of humanity's ongoing search for truth, a journey that seems to move through the milestones of time as if the universe itself had set them in motion from the very beginning. The terrorist treasure tunnels in Iraq. In 2014, when the city of Mosul fell into the hands of the self-proclaimed Islamic State, the world was stunned by the destruction of ancient Assyrian heritage. The extremists used explosives to level not only temples and historical monuments, but also a vital part of humanity's memory. Yet, in the darkness of that disaster, a rare opportunity opened up for archaeologists. Not long after, a team of archaeologists from Heidelberg University in Germany arrived in Mosul with a hopeful mission: to reach ancient sites that no one had ever accessed before. The reason was unique, for it was the very tunnels that ISIS had dug deep underground that now provided researchers with a passage into the heart of millennia old ruin. Within that labyrinth of earth and shadow, archaeologists discovered the remains of a magnificent palace from the Assyrian dynasty, a structure that had previously existed only in ancient record. Inside lay the throne room, a remnant from the empire's final days, when Mesopotamia was still a center of power and legend. Most remarkable were two colossal statues of the protective deity, Lamassu, each towering with the body of a bull, the wings of a bird, and a human head, weighing up to 40 tons. They stood guard at the entrance to the throne room, silent witnesses to a vanished age. Yet, hopes of finding actual treasures, gold, jewels, or sacred relics were soon extinguished. Almost all valuable artifacts had already been looted by ISIS and funneled onto the international black market, where their origins quickly vanished at the hands of artifact smugglers. Nevertheless, the discovery of the palace and the Lamassu statues remains vivid proof of history's resilience. No matter how great the upheaval, traces of the past can still rise from the ashes, opening a new chapter in the search for humanity's memory. In every dark tunnel beneath Mosul, history and disaster, hope and loss are interwoven, leaving behind a lesson. The greatest treasure is not merely found in material objects, but in the understanding and memories we preserve for generations to come. Maggies Wall and the Witchcraft Mystery of Scotland. On the mist-shrouded hills of ancient Dunning, among the old forest and wild meadows, so typical of Scotland, there is a place that compels every passerby to stop and reflect. There stands a rough stone pillar, more than 6 meters tall, crowned by an old, weathered cross. The stones are stacked in layers, covered with green moss and marked by the traces of time, while at the base of the column lies an array of small offerings: coins, seashells, feathers, even teddy bears or white candles left behind by pilgrims. All these tokens point to a single name: Maggie Wall. The white letters painted across the stone read like an incantation. Maggie Wall was burned here in 1657 as a witch. The atmosphere around the stone is always heavy with the somberness of an era when people were willing to turn against one another out of fear of what they did not understand. The witch hunts in Scotland spanned 3 centuries, leaving pain and loss for thousands of families. Countless women were accused based on nothing more than rumors or idle suspicion, and their lives often ended in tragedy at the foot of a dreadful pyre. The story of Maggie Wall has become part of this collective, haunting memory. Local people recall that Maggie was once a young woman living near the village, who, swept up in petty disputes or the community's prejudice, was accused of witchcraft. Many legends suggest that Maggie may have fallen in love with a man from a powerful family, making her the target of punishment. Yet the true depth of this mystery lies in the fact that no official record confirms the existence or death of anyone named Maggie Wall. A review of legal documents and court records from the 17th century to the present reveals no mention of her trial or execution. Historians have searched for answers, only to reach dead ends, while villagers increasingly believe that Maggie is perhaps just a symbol, the embodiment of the countless other Scottish women once crushed by invisible fear. Some researchers suggest that the stone pillar is not actually a grave or an execution site for any specific individual, but rather a collective memorial, a place to express grief for all the innocent women who suffered injustice in that dark era. Perhaps that is why, despite the passage of many years, the air around Maggie's Wall is still filled with a deep and lingering sorrow, prompting anyone who stands before it to ponder the thin line between belief, superstition, and human compassion. Today, Maggie's Wall has become a sacred destination for those who wish to remember or pray for the nameless victims of Scotland's witch hunts. Each small offering placed at the base of the pillar is a prayer, a faint hope that the past will not repeat itself. In the cold winds blowing through Dunning, the story of Maggie Wall continues to live on in the community's memory, as a reminder of both the strength and the fragility of humanity in the face of prejudice and fear, civilizations and historical mysteries. Beneath the sands of time, the mysteries of ancient civilizations continue to fascinate archaeologists and researchers around the world. One of the most remarkable recent discoveries is the reconstruction of the ancient city of Sar, the legendary center of the Dilmun civilization located on the island of Bahrain. Archaeologists have unearthed an elaborate system of wells, ancient stone altars, and artifacts connected to the worship of Enki, the famed god of water and wisdom in Sumerian mythology. Sar was also a bustling trade hub linking Mesopotamia and India, demonstrating that Dilmun once played an indispensable role in the ancient trade routes that marked the earliest Silk Road journeys. Although the Dilmun civilization did not leave behind grand monuments like some of its neighbors, the remnants that do survive are enough to astonish researchers with their level of development and far-reaching influence in their era. Meanwhile, in Poland, a thrilling story of Bronze Age treasure has stirred the countryside. A farmer, while working in his field, accidentally uncovered a rare collection of bronze weapons, tools, and artifacts. These items belong to 2 major cultures, the Unitas and the Lusatian, which existed more than 3 millennia ago. The hoard includes daggers, axes, maces, pins, and even ornamental scepters, objects that reflect not only advanced metallurgical skills but also offer a glimpse into the warfare, social hierarchies, and extensive trade networks of ancient people. It is likely that this treasure was hidden during a period of turmoil, with the hope that it would be recovered one day but in the end, it became living evidence of the ups and downs of ancient history. Off the northern coast of Israel, a family camping near the sea accidentally discovered a large cache of coins fused together after centuries of erosion by the wave. Experts later determined that the coins dated back to the Roman era, very likely the remnants of a shipwreck lost offshore long ago. This discovery not only enriches the nation's collection of antiquities, but also opens up intriguing theories about ancient maritime routes, commerce, and the losses and tragedies that sailors and merchants of the past faced on their perilous sea journey. These archaeological discoveries, whether from distant lands or lesser-known cultures, all help illuminate the broader picture of the diversity, complexity, and enduring vitality of civilizations that once flourished on Earth. At the same time, they raise new questions about humanity's past, which remains full of unanswered mystery. The universal divine symbol. In the quest to uncover humanity's greatest mysteries, there is a mark that appears with striking consistency across the world's ancient civilizations. A divine symbol depicting two outstretched arms. This image is carved at the entrances of sacred sites from ancient Egypt and the Nile Valley, to the temples of Greece, the gates of Persia, the moss-covered stone pyramids of South America, and even the distant Celtic sites in Europe, spanning continents and millennia. These symbols are mysteriously alike, as if they originated from a single, secret source. What sets this symbol apart is the depiction of a god or mystical being, with both arms extended horizontally at shoulder level, each hand often holding identical objects, creating perfect symmetry. No matter the culture, the symbol is always placed in the most honored position, usually at the very center of the entrance to religious or sacred structures, at what is believed to be the boundary between the physical world and the spiritual realm. Sometimes the figure bears a human face, other times it resembles a monstrous creature, or even blends features of both male and female, of god and beast. This mysterious repetition has led many researchers to ask a profound question. How did cultures on different continents, with virtually no contact in ancient times, come to create the same iconic image? Is this merely a remarkable coincidence, or could there once have been an ancient religious current that spread throughout the world when humanity was still in its infancy? Some scholars, such as Richard Cassereau, believe that behind all these symbols lies the faint trace of a Golden Age religion, a shared faith passed down by humanity's ancestors as they began to migrate and settle across the planet. No matter where these earliest people went, they carried in their minds the image of a deity with outstretched arms. It was a symbol of protection, of the universe's balance, of faith and light and life. And as they built their sacred structures, they carved that symbol above the threshold as a bridge between past and present, between the divine and mankind. To this day, the mystery of the universal divine symbol remains unsolved. Is there, deep within the collective memory of our species, an invisible thread binding once distant cultures into a single family of seekers after the sacred meaning of life? Or is it all simply a wondrous coincidence of the human imagination? Whatever the answer may be, the image of a god with outstretched arms endures as a testament to the universal longing to reach for something beyond the boundaries of everyday existence, a longing shared by every civilization. The Hobbit little people of Indonesia. Amid the tropical rainforests and pristine limestone caves on the island of Flores, Indonesia, scientists have uncovered one of the most intriguing mysteries in human evolution: Homo floresiensis, affectionately known to many as the Hobbit. The story of this tiny human species has completely transformed our understanding of the diversity of our kind on Earth. They appeared on Flores about 100,000 years ago, living quietly for many generations and developing features dramatically different from any other human species ever known. An adult among them stood no taller than a modern 3-year-old child, so small that many experts at first mistook their remains for those of children. Yet the complete adult bone structures proved otherwise. This was an entirely separate species, perfectly adapted to the isolated environment of Flores. The emergence of Homo floresiensis conjures images of characters from fairy tales, but their real life was far more hard. On this same island, giant Komodo dragons, predatory lizards stretching up to 3 meters in length, dominated the food chain. The little people had to constantly contend with dangers from these reptiles, relying on intelligence, the ability to craft stone tools, and skilled hunting and gathering to survive. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of fire, small animal bones, and handmade tools within the caves, all reflecting an organized, if modest, and resilient society. They lived in complete isolation, with no contact with the outside world, and the mystery of their origins and disappearance remains unsolved to this day. What is certain is that Homo floresiensis existed side by side with the giant creatures of that era, creating a unique chapter in the story of human evolution. The story of the Hobbits of Flores stands as a testament to the wonders of nature, revealing the astonishing adaptability of our ancestors in the face of changing environment. Though diminutive in stature, they demonstrated vitality and a spirit that transcended fate, a quiet symbol amid the great forests of Indonesia that continues to fascinate and inspire us today. The world's oldest agricultural machine. Across the ancient lands bordering the Mediterranean, a quiet invention with the power to change the fate of humanity emerged as far back as 9,000 years ago. The threshing sledge, this seemingly simple tool, a long wooden board with sharp stones embedded on its underside, marked a turning point in the history of human agriculture. At harvest time, instead of painstakingly beating each bundle of grain by hand as in the primitive past, farmers of that era simply harnessed the threshing sledge to an ox or a horse and dragged it in circles over the freshly cut crop. The sharp stones beneath the board would grind through the stalks, separating the grain from the straw, saving enormous amounts of labor and time. Simple, effective, and durable, the threshing sledge quickly became an indispensable companion in the wheat and barley fields of the Middle East, Turkey, Greece, and soon spread to Europe and North Africa. Thanks to this technological leap, productivity soared many times over, paving the way for small communities to grow into flourishing cities and powerful states. The threshing sledge not only helped create bountiful harvests, but also laid the foundation for the rise of great civilizations such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, and ancient Greece. While in Western Europe, this tool would not appear until millennia later in the arid Mediterranean lands, it had already transformed societies from the earliest days of agriculture. Looking back at the journey of the threshing sledge across thousands of years, we see that the most brilliant advances do not always arise from grand inventions. Sometimes, it is the simplest, most practical innovations that unlock a new era for humanity. That, too, is an enduring lesson of history. Small steps can often open the biggest doors to the future. A comparison between Jesus and the Buddha. Looking back at the history of world religions, few might expect that the lives and messages of Jesus Christ and the Buddha, two supreme figures of Christianity and Buddhism, would share so many striking parallels. Though born more than 5 centuries apart and raised in entirely different cultures, both stepped away from lives of comfort, leaving their families in search of truths that transcended the ordinary. Both Jesus and the Buddha spent periods in solitude, facing trials of body and spirit, before emerging to share a new philosophy of life with humanity. One of the most notable similarities is that both chose 12 trusted disciples. This number carries not only symbolic meaning, but is also closely tied to traditions of leadership and spiritual succession. Both figures faced betrayal by someone among their inner circle, and though the pain was great, both Jesus and the Buddha chose forgiveness, leaving behind a profound lesson in compassion and the power of mercy. Both also left an indelible mark after their passing. Their teachings continued to spread, inspiring billions of people and helping to shape the moral and cultural foundations of humanity for thousands of years. Even their final words were filled with enlightenment. The Buddha advised his disciples to be a lamp unto yourselves, while Jesus called his followers the light of the world, each sending forth a message of initiative and hope that rises above fate. These similarities raise an intriguing question. Were both spiritual masters shaped by a shared mythic pattern? Or does this harmony simply reveal a universal human need for faith, for salvation, for the longing to live virtuously and surpass personal limitations? Whatever the answer may be, the journeys of Jesus and the Buddha remain an endless source of inspiration, guiding people to the deepest meaning and true value of life. The Black Pyramid of Alaska. Amid the cold, desolate expanse of Alaska, where endless forests stretch beneath a blanket of perpetual ice, the story of a giant black pyramid, whispered for more than 3 decades, has never truly faded. According to rumor, beneath meters of thick ice lies a mysterious structure in the form of a jet black pyramid, said to be twice the size of Egypt's famous Great Pyramid of Giza. The location is no coincidence, as it sits right within the so-called Alaska Triangle, a region notorious for strange phenomena, unexplained disappearances, and flights that never return. The story began in 1992, when seismologists conducting research in Alaska detected unusual signs deep underground. The rumor of the Black Pyramid immediately captured the imagination of mystery enthusiasts. Many theories arose, the most intriguing of which suggested that the structure is not merely an ancient relic, but actually the creation of an extraterrestrial civilization possessing the ability to generate energy without any need for conventional fuel. According to some, the Black Pyramid could supply power to all of Alaska and Canada, making it a technological treasure coveted by any nation. This tale became even more sensational, with claims that the U.S. military quickly secured and heavily guarded the area as early as 1949 to protect its ultimate secret. Yet, all of these details remain within the realm of rumor and unverified speculation. No one has ever actually seen the Black Pyramid, and there is no scientific evidence to confirm its existence. Even so, the allure of the story has only grown over time, fueling the curiosity of mystery seekers and driving them to keep searching for answers to the secret said to lie buried deep beneath Alaska's frozen ground. Rare treasures and archaeological artifacts. From the ancient ruins of Rome to the ocean floor off the coast of Florida, the world of archaeology never ceases to reveal treasures and artifacts of immeasurable value. Each discovery opens a door into the distant past, filled with stories and mysteries that have never been told. One of the most astonishing discoveries to captivate experts was a large Roman-era wooden chest unearthed among the ruins of a lavish villa in Spain. This chest was not simply a container for valuables, it was meticulously decorated with gold, bronze, and iron. Its surface bore carved images symbolizing power, prosperity, and ancient deity. The intricate patterns, interwoven with Greek and Roman cultural motifs, transformed the chest into a true work of art, vividly reflecting the wealth and status of its owner. What makes this find all the more remarkable is that, despite Rome's once vast reach across Europe, the number of ancient treasure chests remaining intact to this day can be counted on one hand. That rarity makes this discovery priceless. But the land is not the only place holding such stories. Beneath the ocean waves lie other tales of gold and mysterious adventure. In 2015, the Eric Schmidt family of Florida stunned the world when they announced the discovery of a treasure trove worth up to $1 million from the wreckage of a Spanish ship that had sunk off the coast in 1715. Beneath the sand, they uncovered dozens of rare gold coins, pure gold chains, and hundreds of ancient silver coins, all dating back to the era of Spain's conquest of South America. These gold coins are especially precious because they were royal coins, struck exclusively for the King of Spain, each one carrying immense historical and artistic value. The treasure was later divided among the family, the state government, and the team of divers. But perhaps its greatest value lay in the feeling of touching a piece of legend that had been buried for 3 centuries. In the realm of ancient currency, Chinese archaeologists have discovered coin molds and fragments over 2,600 years old, evidence that metal casting and trade had developed early in the East. These relics date back to the Eastern Zhou dynasty, showing that ancient Chinese society not only flourished in culture but was also ahead of its time in economic technology. Alongside the coins, archaeologists have also found workshops for crafting bronze, jade, and even bone, indicating a bustling production center once existed there. Yet, not all treasures are merely material in nature. Some discoveries carry a sense of horror and the brutality of history. In the tomb of a Maya warrior, archaeologists uncovered a necklace made from actual human skulls, a macabre piece of jewelry once used to honor the most ferocious warriors of Maya civilization. This necklace was not only a symbol of power but also vivid evidence of the Maya Empire's final years, steeped in bloody conflict as society was swept into the unending spiral of war. Tiny holes drilled into the skulls allowed for the attachment of decorative feathers, while the bone itself was polished flat to where close to the chest, a haunting image that both commemorates and serves as a stark reminder of the tragic fate of a once glorious civilization. If you found these mysterious stories fascinating, please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next discoveries. We'll see you in the next video.